Welcome everyone to Hindu Center of Atlanta's weekly spiritual learning. Today we are joined with Acharya Brahmadevji. Acharya is delivering a lecture on a series Practical Application of Yoga in Daily Life. Acharya Brahmadevji has an inclusive educational background in science, banking from University of Mauritius, management ABA UK, and Darshanacharya Vedic Philosophy, Darshan Yoga Mahavidyalaya, Gujarat, India, and a diverse career in financial services, industry, and at Arya Sabha Mauritius. He has been a key resource person for Arya Sabha Mauritius on the universal Vedic values, yoga and meditation, and on interfaith and intercultural dialogue at various national and international forums. The Mauritius Council of Religions, Arya Pratinidhi Sabha America, Greater Atlanta Vedic Temple, and Hindu Center of Atlanta Yoga and Meditation Center. He is author of numerous insightful articles on Vedic philosophy and contemporary issues in English and French. Acharya
Namaste, everybody. So let's sit down straight, close the eyes gently, keep the body relaxed, and feel the relaxation of the body from head to toe. So de-stress, decompress the heels, the shoulder, the heels, the legs, the hips, the back, the stomach, the thorax, especially with the lungs and the shoulders, the neck. This is where we accumulate most of our stress. And the facial muscles. Keep a gentle smile. Deep inhale and exhale. And the inhale process would be first inflating the belly, then the lungs, and pull the shoulders up. And when we exhale, it's pulling the shoulders down, deflating the lungs, and putting the belly inside, creating pressure on the diaphragm, and emptying the lungs. And then when we fill in the lungs, we'll get more oxygen into the lungs, into the body, and into the brain. And that is the best nourishment of the brain, oxygen. And while exhaling, we'll be chanting Om and then mantra path. Om mantra path. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidveshavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Join the palms together, rub them slowly, gently, and cover the eyes and open the eyes below the palms, feeling the transfer of the energy to the eyes and to the facial muscles. This is the best way to relax, and relaxing, controlling the breath, increasing the flow of oxygen to the brain, and increasing usage of the lungs as well as usage of the brain. We had covered the definition of yoga. Yoga as Yoga's Chitta Vritti Nirodha, given to us by Maharshi Patanjali. the original philosophy of yoga, understanding that the exercises that we do as yogasana is very good for physical health. But then we have to grow also with a holistic approach to wellness. That's where Patanjali Yoga comes into, with yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dhyana, dharana, then dhyana, then samadhi. So yama, the precepts of social discipline; niyama, the precepts of personal discipline; then asana, as sthir sukham asanam. It means the posture in which we can sit down over a long period of time without discomfort and remain focused within that position. Pranayam, Maharshi Patanjali has given 4 types of pranayam. The things that we are doing commonly is good for health. But this one brings the focus much more by retaining the breath either inside, Abhyanta Pranayam, or Bahya Pranayam, retaining the breath outside. Then Vishayakshepi and Bahya Antar Vishayakshepi. So it gives the 4 positions. The third one is retaining the breath where you are. And the fourth one is when you are inhaling, you just give a pause, exhale somewhat, and then breathe again. So these are 4 steps of pranayam, which brings us to be better focused, and focus brings us to be better performers in whatever we do in life. Then pratyahara is introversion of the senses. It tells us if you want to go on the path of being better focused, so focus is when we drive inside, and yoga tells us it's more of the working rather than workout. Then dharana also. So if pratyahara is introversion of the senses, dharana, when you focus, you better focus on something within yourself rather than outside. Because till we focus outside, we are still running out of ourselves. So dharana is a few points that are given by Maharshi Patanjali is focus on the breathing exercise, the nostrils, the air going in and out, or focus on the center between the eyebrows, or the tip of the nose, or focus on the Hridayakash, where the soul resides in the body. This is the region. It's the cavity between the sternum, the lower ribs. We feel there is a cavity there, it's soft, and this is where we focus. Then dhyan is the situation where we let flow of whatever be the thoughts and emotions that flows through us, and when we let it go of them, this is where they stop. Because if we fight, we resist the flow of things in our thoughts and in our emotions, then we are losing our energy in resisting them. But if we let them flow, then will come a time when everything is silent. And then in dhyan, we can use mantra jap or om jap and be focused on our chanting, be focused on the sound, on the pronunciation and the waves, the vibrations of the sound waves. So when we focus on that, we are more able to silence our mental and emotional activities and come to a point where we'll find that whenever we sit down, within the next few seconds, we are completely, as we say, vichar shunya, we don't get involved in any other mental or emotional activities. And samadhi is the position where we realize ourselves as the soul, not only as the body. And ultimate destination is to be in communion with the Supreme Being, Ishwar God. and realize God as it is. And that position where we are completely detached also with the day-to-day life, and in Samadhi, this is where we start getting knowledge, direct knowledge from Ishwar God. We had covered ahimsa, and we found that ahimsa is non-violence, but we also looked into the causes of ahimsa: kam, krodha, lobha, moh. These are the main causes. Because giving up, overindulgence in the senses, we are moderate in that, then will not fall prey to greed, neither to attachment, neither to anger. And ahimsa is the main concept of your philosophy, because it shows us the path that yama and niyama are to be followed at 3 levels: manasa, vacha, karmana. So man se, vani se, or sharir se. So it's in thoughts. Then vani se, I would prefer to include words rather than speech, because words are either spoken or expressed in writing. So both of them comes there, because nowadays with the social media and everything, we tend to communicate more in writing rather than spoken. And then karmana is what we do ourselves. Then the next 3 stage is from physical actions that we do ourselves, that is krit, our thoughts, our words, and our physical actions. Then there's karik, is when we share ideas, we give inducement to others to do things, or we cause them to do it by coercion or by pressure. So whatever we cause others to do, that is also part of our karma. And then anumodit is where we give consent. And most of the time, when things are good, we express our consent. But when things are bad, not to let the relationships go sour, what we do is just stay silent. And that is also contributes to our consent in negative karma. So we have to be careful. So we saw ahimsa is due to kama, krodha, lobha, moh, overindulgence, kama, krodha, anger, lobha, greed, and moh, over attachment. So principles of non-violence, when adopted, it gives us to view others, whether they are living beings or non-living beings, as friends, and we learn to respect every form of life and also the environment around us. Then satya, being truthful, and we all know in one line, his liars are never believed. And the story can be linked to that, is the boy who cried the wolf. Crying wolf once, twice, people came to help him and found that it was a prank. And the third time, when really the wolf came, nobody came to help him. So that's one way of just remembering the importance of being truthful. Then asteya is non-stealing. So non-stealing, it's good to know the concept of God as being omnipresent, present everywhere and at all times. And even if we don't believe in God, there are the laws of nature which we respect, and we know the law of karma. Whatever we do, if it's positive, we are going to earn positive yield of that, the fruits, as we say. And if negative karma, it's always on the reverse side, we'll have to pay the penalties for that. And often when we do karma, we forget, and then when we are getting the results of that, then we say, oh, I don't remember what I did, and I'm reaping those. So this concept of asteya leads us to accepting the concept of Ishwar, God, Creator, as the one who operates the law of karma, and that we can't escape. And when we go into that, it's as good as we remember the situation where the thief has the police towing him and he never commits mistake. So asteya leads us to that situation where we are always aware that the law of karma is in operation and we'll be careful into what we are doing. And asteya also is to be remembered. There are things which we take physically, but something like downloading a software which is licensed and not paying for that license, or copying a text from a book and not quoting that this is a reference from such and such book, this is also stealing. So today we'll be looking into further down the line with brahmacharya. Yog Darshan says brahmacharya pratisthayam virya labha. So brahmacharya is what we say abstinence, and abstinence from sexual and other activities leads to the preservation of the vital life force, and it goes towards our social, mental, moral, spiritual, and social development. So it says moderation everywhere. For those when married life involves in, then it says moderation there, because it liberates the mind, the body, and the spirit from overindulgence in pleasures. And overindulgence in pleasures leads to addiction, and addiction doesn't give happiness. It gives only the, as we say, the fleeting pleasures for that time we are in there. And each and every time we try to indulge in the pleasures, we need more resources. We have to give more and more of ourselves to enjoy the same thing. And when we go on repeatedly, the level of pleasure that we get from the same thing decreases. Like we find that, take for example, those who are in addiction, drug addiction or other things, or the person addicted to alcohol, he starts with one small peg, and when he gets addicted to that, then he starts with the bottle. So when we are following brahmacharya, it's control, self-control one way. It's exercising control over our own body, because we should remember this body is there with us for a lifetime. And if we misuse the body, this is where when we get into addiction, the body becomes, as we say, kshin. It starts to decay. Unfortunately, this is not like a motor vehicle where you can remove the parts, throw them away, and put new parts. So we have to take care of this body. So abstinence and fidelity leads us to the sattvic vyavahar. And the level of sattvic vyavahar brings into us the radiance of our personality. The radiance of our personality, and wherever we go, we just become. There's one reference which my father used to say when we were children. He said, "You'll be like the full moon on the day of Purnima." On the day of full moon, who cares to look at the stars? So your personality becomes like this whenever you go, wherever you go, within your group of friends or your group of relatives, you'll be shining like that. So that brings the radiance, because the level of sattvika enables you to be as bright as the moon in full moon. We don't realize it, but when we develop this gradually over time, then we'll realize that even without talking to people, people can feel the aura and the radiance of our personality, and then they come to us for guidance and to learn the good things of life. So brahmacharya allows us to make judicious use of our physical energy, the vital life energies. And then whatever we do in life, we are better focused rather than each and every time our mind shifts to sources of pleasure. We have moderation in life, we'll be impartial, we'll be tolerant, we'll have better self-control, and we'll be able to practice, whether be it physical yogasanas or pranayam, or trying to go on the spiritual path. Will not have the problem of going to a level, falling back, going up and falling back again. Will be on the constant growth, because moderation in life is a key force within ourselves to keep connected to one, the inner self of the soul, then to our relatives, to our friends, to society at large, and to the world. Because moderation, the next topic would be aparigraha, then we'll learn it there. So brahmacharya also includes acquiring spiritual knowledge, learning the scriptures, or for somebody who doesn't, he says, okay, I don't believe in the scriptures, I would say then he goes into analyzing the values of life, which I would say are the spiritual aspects, the living values of life, where we become a better person. And when we become a better person, our own level of happiness increases without any external source of pleasure. And for that, we'll be able to connect to the whole world in a better way. So the proper channeling of life energies, we develop the growth in buddhi, from samanya buddhi, which is, as we say, the general level of the mind and intellect of people, to medha buddhi, where we are aware at each and every time. We'll be able to recognize truth and untruth. We'll be able to recognize virtue from vice, and always be truthful, always be virtuous, shun untruth, shun vice, and whatever we'll do in life as our duties, responsibilities will be 100% dedicated to that. Avoid laziness, avoid negligence. So eventually that leads to the creation of a better self as a role model to our family, to our friends, that will lead to a better society. Then the next one is aparigraha, non-stealing. It says aparigraha sthirya janma kathanta sambodha. So aparigraha is non-accumulation of superfluous things in life. Parigraha means hoarding, and aparigraha is non-hoarding. Parigraha requires much more because when we are hoarding, it requires much more of our time, energy, resources. What to do is to protect what we have. As we say, Arjan Dosh, we need more energy, more resources to earn. And from there, then there's Rakshan Dosh. Rakshan Dosh is whatever we've earned, we have now to dedicate more resources to protect whatever we've earned. And then there's Vriddhi Dosh, because when we've got, say, $10 million, then we'll say, no, okay, our next target is 100 million. And after 100 million, we try to get 1 billion. So that multiplying effect requires much more of our resources. And when we know, okay, $10 million is sufficient to live a whole lifetime, so why do we run for more than that? So instead of going into resources, and when we go like that in hoarding, we also tend to exploit others. But when we are moderate, we say, okay, this suffices to live a lifetime. Now we'll be more dedicated to society itself, to benevolent actions and everything. So that brings us to be more humane in life. But then there's Kshay Dosh. So it was Arjan Dosh, Rakshan Dosh, Vriddhi Dosh, and then Kshay Dosh. Whatever we accumulate, what will happen with time, it will decay. And if it doesn't decay, we'll no longer be there to enjoy of that. So there is also that part of it, Kshay Dosh. If those things don't decay, it's ourselves which are going to decay because we've spent more time in trying to get those things. There's the fear of always theft or loss of whatever we've accumulated. So that now starts building the stress within us. Then when we find that things are not going as per our expectations beyond the what is normally required to live life normally, when we find that we cannot get more and more, what we do, we start going on the reverse mode. People will go on profiteering, which is exploiting others. People go on black marketing, and that causes undue hardship to others. So we are in the reverse mode of ahimsa. We've shifted ourselves to hinsa. Often when we are doing parigraha, over accumulation of things, we don't feel the pain that we are causing to others. And we don't feel the pain, the stress that we are building to ourselves. So aparigraha, non-hoarding, and it starts with thoughts, then accumulation of material wealth. Reasonable to have things to live life properly, not as a pauper, but not in extravagance also. So aparigraha tells us when we'll practice it, we'll stay clear. We'll stay away from collecting unnecessary things. जैसे कहते हैं आपके यहाँ एक अलमारी है, उस अलमारी में जितने सामान हैं उतना ही आपने डाल दिए, और सामान आएंगे तो कहाँ रखेंगे? तो हमारे दिमाग में भी विचार का भी वही लेवल है और हमारे फिजिकल लाइफ में वही लेवल है. So let's be moderate in life, because what is happening today in society, one, with the social media, we spend too much time there, and how productive we are with that, we can gauge it ourselves. So that is at the level of thoughts mostly. Then look at the level of material things. What are the consequences of parigraha hoarding? We are over exploiting the resources of this planet Earth. And there's a limit to the resources available on the planet. I remember when there was the Small Island Developing States Conference in Mauritius, I think it was 2013 or 14. Ban Ki-moon was the Secretary General of UN. He came down here and he said one thing: the world today is living as if we have a second planet Earth by the side, and when the resources here are finished, we'll just move there and bring them here. And that second planet doesn't exist. ये काल्पनिक दृष्टिकोण से वो समझा रहा था how we behave. And this is the problem of today, because we are counting on development only in terms of economy, GDP, and we are not looking at the level of happiness. We are more on deriving pleasure. Happiness is at the level of the body, the mind, and the spirit. So it's at the level of man, sharir, and atma. But pleasure is only from at the physical level, not even at the mental level, because when you are at the mental level, that is happiness. So that's a thin, as we say, paper line, as thick as a paper line, demarcation. So aparigraha tells us if we have less wants, we'll be moderate in our wants. We'll have less worries, or we'll be moderate in our worries, and we'll also be moderate in the level of sufferings or the efforts that we need to put to live a life in moderation. And when we have less and less stress, we'll be more and more happy. And that increases the level of happiness. And when we are more happy, we'll be more happy within our family, we'll be more happy in society. So we see all the concepts in Yama, which are the don'ts of life. Ahimsa is not to be violent. Satya is not to tell lies. Asteya is not to steal. Brahmacharya is not to waste our body energy, our vital life forces. And aparigraha is not to accumulate superfluous things beyond what we need to live life properly. So these are the don'ts of life, and these are the social discipline. Social discipline in terms that it leads us to be a better person within ourselves, within our family, and within society at large. And going on these precepts will not fall prey to greed. It will always be moderate, and moderation is well appreciated throughout life, throughout society at large. So that was covering an overview, and we've finished with the 5 precepts of Yama. Next time we'll start with the precepts of Niyama. And Niyama will be the precepts of personal discipline, or the do's. So, do we have any questions on the topic of today? So I just hope that would give more insight on being moderate in life and increase our level of happiness in day-to-day life. Because these are things that are not abstruse. The more we apply them in our life, the more we'll increase our level of happiness. And when we increase our level of happiness, we'll be really, really happy in life. And in everything, moderation is a key issue. And when we start being moderate, we'll be avoiding the pitfalls of going into the extremes. We'll be moderate in life. We'll increase our level of happiness. And this is what yoga tells us. Then we'll live a better life, and eventually we'll live longer with less stress. And when we live longer with less stress, we'll be able to respect the various stages of life. Student life as brahmacharya, grihastha as married life, Then when we come to the stage of retirement, that will be Vanprasth. We'll again go and spend more and more time in spiritual matters. And eventually we'll be detached with the words. And that is more the concept of sannyas when we are detached with this world. So we'll be growing on the path of yoga, ultimately to reach the final level of samadhi and break the cycle of life and death. As we say, asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya, realizing that prayer, being truthful, shunning untruth, moving from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, and then finally with the samadhi level, which is essential, will break the cycle of birth and death, go to mukti and moksha. So it says jnanam mukti. The correct knowledge will lead us to be correct in our behavior as a human being, and correct behavior will ultimately dharma, artha, kama, moksha will be growing there to attain. So if there are no questions, we'll close the session for today. So let's sit down and one short minute of meditation, just chanting Om silently and feel the vibrations of the silent meditation and enjoy that 1 minute moment of meditation. It's long inhale and long exhale, and while exhaling it's Om. The O is 3 times more than the Ma. So it's like this. Om. Again, join our palms, rub them slowly and slightly gently, and then cover the eyes. Transfer the energy to the eyes and open the eyes with our palms so that external light doesn't hit our eyes. So, namaste and thank you. We'll see the next session of yoga. It's next Sunday at 9 p.m. joining the Hindu Center of Atlanta for the practical applications of yoga in daily life. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, Acharya.